Hello, hello
And welcome,
to Luna and the
Luna.
Druid.
I see Luna. Hi, and I
Hi,
see
Jan.
Jan, the Druid. And looking forward to a lovely show again.
So lovely to see you. I can't believe it's another Monday, but
Another
Mondays
month,
are my favorite days. Moon
another
days.
another week gone.
Yes, that's correct. Well, today we have a treat for tarot lovers, as well
Yeah,
as for those who would like to go deeper within their tarot practice or are completely beginners and would like to find out more about tarot and tarot cards.
yeah. That's what we'll do today. We'll start at the beginning, uh, and the beginning in the tarot is always the Fool, card number 0, and yeah, that's a card I particularly love, and what we're going to do is we're going to start a series where every week, and that will be for the coming 21 weeks, the Fool will visit one of the other cards in the major arcana. The major arcana, the 22 cards that represent the big events in our lives and the big things in our lives, and we have a minor arcana which present influences on our lives, but the big events are the major arcana events. And the next weeks, starting today with card number 1, the magician, will discuss the arcanas, and that will be later in the show. But first, Luna, we're going to
Let's say
do a bit of
hello to our subscribers. Magda is here. Julie from Creative Soul Tarot is here. They say hello. Hi, guys. Lovely to have you here.
lovely to see you again. Yeah, yeah. And so we have our loyal viewers, and also a few we can't see who they are yet, but they'll show up in the subscribers list hopefully. So if you're watching either live now on Monday or later in the week or weeks later, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It helps us a lot and it costs you nothing.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, shall we start?
Let's give it a go. Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good to go. Yeah.
before we even go further with anything, the first question is what is actually tarot? For those who've never come across tarot, what is it?
Tarot is a relatively old, so a well-established uh, card pack of cards that you can consult in order to get advice about your situation in life. The tarot is able to ask you questions. Where are you? What are you doing? What are you what are you thinking about? Or what's the matter in your life? The tarot will will just pinpoint. That's the serendipity of tarot. Pinpoint exactly the things that are the matter in your life. And in following cards you pull, you get advice on how to tackle those matters. Tarot is also often used for, we call it divination or fortune telling, telling the future or predicting the future. Um, a bit tricky, of course, um, because the future is always in your own hands. Uh, Whatever a tarot reader predicts, always remember that when you have a tarot reading and your tarot reader predicts something you don't like, you can avoid it. So it's still in your own hands. The tarot reader can give you a possible future or an alleyway to explore for yourself. And so that's what the tarot does. It's a very complicated system, and over the years it has grown in complexity. So we have added more things to it: astrological, uh, planetary correspondences. We've added the tree of life of the Kabbalah with the ten phases of life, and the 21 cards will all fit perfectly in the parts of the Kabbalah, um, and many other things like whatever you think, stones, animals, power animals, you can all find them in enough. Like when it's a lifelong study, I would say.
Absolutely, I agree with that. It's just never-ending story, as I say.
Never-ending story.
But it's a beautiful story and a beautiful journey into symbols, because every single thing on a card has a meaning, but also a beautiful journey through our intuition as well, and the way how we connect with the cards.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you do? Would you be more intuitive, or would you go for the real tarot meanings as they are in the books, or a mix of both?
Oh, I go for a mix of both. Both. It depends on the client. It depends on who I read for. Sometimes I go for a typical meaning, but sometimes I go deeper. Sometimes the messages which come through are completely different and completely opposite. Even when last time we were doing our live reading, I said that normally I would say this card means this and that, but on this particular card, I see this and that. So for me, it's both. However, I try to keep the meaning of a card, and I try to interpret the card around it. However, as you know probably yourself, it's different with every client. And what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. The first thing, of course, especially when the client gives less feedback, you go. Uh, a famous tarot teacher, Camille Elias, always says, "RTFQ, read or RTFC, read the fucking cards."
I like that.
Yeah, and that's what you should do. The cards have their meanings, and work with them. But the cards, it's not like you in a lot of tarot decks you get a little white book with like three or four lines per card. And I have books here, like for instance the Book of Thoth, a very complicated book. I know it's on your shelf somewhere as well.
I
Some
have that one as well
Yeah.
somewhere here. I'll probably wreck my space. There you go.
Yeah, there you have it. There you have it. In this book, for instance, just about the full card, there's 21 pages.
Wow.
One card, 21 pages. So it's
My
not
goodness.
just five keywords and you're done. No, no. Every card has a meaning, a layer below, another layer below, and sometimes layers above. It's like a big lasagna, or
Yeah.
it has all kinds of layers. You can go through to get deeper meanings and deeper understandings of the cards, layers and correspondences. Yeah. So it's
Not sorry, not mention that it's also important the journey you mentioned before. So what kind of cards is before that and after? What kind of spreads we are using? A spread is the way we read cards. We place cards at the table.
yeah,
For those who haven't heard about it. So tarot, 78 cards. Uh, Two sets, major arcana and minor arcanas.
yeah,
Would you like to talk about briefly about that to help
yeah.
understand what does it mean, major arcana, minor arcanas?
There's even a trend to talk about three sets: major arcana, minor arcana, cards going from 1 to 10 in four suits, like playing cards. And then, like playing cards, there's also a term called court cards, which are princesses, princes, knights, and kings, the ones that lives in castles in the court. And for every suit, there's also four court cards. So 16 court cards, 40 really minor cards, pip cards, or numbered cards from 1 or ace to 10, and then 22 major arcana cards. And these are the glue that holds everything together. And with the mix of major and minor, you can build a story. And that's how I always use the cards. I lay them out in a sequence. Celtic cross goes from 1 to 10, and I try to tell it, to talk about the cards by way of a story. Then this happens, and this is an influence. Oh, and there you have an ancestor coming around the corner, giving you advice on this and this topic, and so you go to an end result, uh, being a complete tarot reading, a
Mhm.
story.
Would you agree that the major arcana are the big guns and the minor arcana represent the energy more like the more everyday energy, and the major arcana are the big changes or the big things coming?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, like more or less said, the 1 to 10, and they're very, very fluid, very changeable. You can influence a lot on them yourself, and the major arcana. Uh, you could. But what's very interesting in the oldest tarot decks, tarot was the oldest we know are from Italy, 16th century, and they call them trionfi, the trump cards that go above everything. So the the game of triumphs, the game of trumps, is the game of the 22 major cards, and the other cards are the glue to the story. The minor cards, the numbered cards, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so interesting. That tarot used to be a game and then it turned
Yeah.
into a divination tool. One of the most profound, in my opinion.
It's like we said, it's never ending. It's something that will always give and give more and give more, and there's probably as much combinations possible as there are stars in the galaxy, especially when you draw 10 cards out of the 78. It's endless. The combinations are endless.
As Jan mentioned, we're going to go deeper within major arcanas on every next episode. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so you wouldn't miss, because that's going to be like a tarot course in itself. So I absolutely recommend watching because you can learn so much.
Yeah, yeah. In the 21 weeks, we'll go to the whole major arcana, and you could essentially pick up a deck of cards, take out the major cards, and start doing card spreads for yourself. Especially do 2 or 3 card spreads. There's a lot of tarot teachers that say, yeah, do a card a day. 1 card a day is nothing.
Yes,
I'd say
I
my
agree with that.
yeah,
There must be something which comes at least before and after. There is that combination, even if there is only major arcanas involved. I absolutely agree that one card may be a good guidance. However, tarot is a story. So the more you go, the deeper you go, the
yeah,
better answers you get.
you get yeah, exactly that, and why I say that, use 2 or preferably 3 cards as soon as you can, and create this story, um, because you learn what keeps the cards together, or what is the transition between the various cards. And I said, when I learned 1 card a day, it taught me 1 card a day. When you do 3 cards a day, you don't learn 3 cards a day. No, you learn 9 cards a day. It goes 3 times 3 as fast in learning. That's my experience. I had my challenges when starting to work without guidance. Yeah, you got to get rid of the guidebook, the little white book, as soon as possible. Reading about tarot is a different story than reading the tarot, and you should do it at different times.
So true.
I
So
have
true.
I have shelves full of tarot books, but reading I do without the cards. I read because I want to absorb the knowledge, and it goes into my subconscious, and it comes out when I'm reading the cards.
Interesting approach, but I think it's the right one because the main meaning is a one thing, but then the message which comes from above, it's something different, and it's totally different story because tarot can teach you how to tap into your own intuition, how to tap into that voice within you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can you remember your first reading? What drawn you to tarot in the first place?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to hear about it.
It was a very, very long time ago. I was it must be early this century, like 2001, 2002. I um I had a business in selling metaphysical stuff and fantasy stuff. It was the big time of Lord of the Rings. So I had an import firm in on the continent where we sold Lord of the Rings props, the swords, the replicas, the even star pendants. You might remember that once with the star and the leaves and the brooches the hobbits wore on their capes. I sold all that kind of stuff, and from the same shops, I would sell to shops only, so not to individuals, but the shops also came, can you offer this and this and this and that? And one of my bigger clients says, can you sort me out some tarot decks? And we talked and investigated what he needed, and he wanted some yeah, some fantasy decks and also a Rider Waite deck. I think, oh, Rider Waite Smith deck, I heard about it, let's order an extra copy for myself. And so it came to be that early 2002, I picked up the pack and had no idea what to do with it. I think let's just pick one card and see where where it will take me. And guess what? My first card in my life for myself, I drew the Tower.
Oh my. Let's explain what the tower is.
Yeah, yeah. The Tower, the Tower card is always a card of sudden change. That's the key meaning, but sudden change in a somewhat destructive way. Many of the cards depict uh, a tower crumbling or a tower falling apart, like the Tower of Babel from the Bible, where that fell to pieces. And also in the old Marseille decks, you have people falling down from the tower, like you saw with the Twin Towers in New York that fell down. Um, so okay, the Tower card says process coming. And this process is probably not going to be easy, like all the processes, especially when you're in the process of change. It's always a struggle. But remember, it's a bit like when you have an old house and it doesn't suit you anymore. The best way to make place for it is to demolish it. So it's a destructive process where you take down something that doesn't serve you anymore and build up something new.
I always say that the
Wow.
tarot card is divine intervention.
It is. Yeah, yeah. That's the Lightseer's Tower, isn't it?
Sorry?
Is it the Lightseer's Tower?
Yes, that's my
Lightseer's Tower,
favorite,
yeah.
like the
Your
light
favorite? Yeah,
tarot. I
a
always laugh.
beautiful.
Jan is the mystic druid with the ancient wisdom, and I call myself a modern witch, and I tend to go for those more modern decks. However, I have the classical ones as well, and we're gonna talk about them a little bit later today
Yeah,
because
yeah. And the Lightseers, I would definitely recommend it for someone who likes a modern and inclusive deck. It's I have it myself. I read with it myself with pleasure occasionally, and uh, especially for persons I pick the myself to read for. Um, I it's a lovely deck. Yeah, yeah.
it's very intuitive and it helps you to learn tarot as well. And here is the more classic image
The
of the
classic
tower.
tower. Yeah, the tower on fire and the people falling down. I see them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
There
the
is a
dark clouds.
there is a thunder. Yes. So
So the tower card predicted a big change coming in the coming years, and obviously that
that's
happened.
right.
It was
That's
right. It was right. If
it.
you look at my life then and my life now, there isn't hardly anything that hasn't changed.
Interesting. Well, that's what towers does.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course it made me aware that it was coming. I could prepare for it. I could prepare for the process. Because like I say, a process of nobody wants a change, especially when it's not uh, created by yourself, or maybe you create it by yourself intentionally or non-intentionally. But most people say, okay, let's let's keep it safe and sound, and that's of course that's not what life is about. And that's what we're going to learn in the Fool's Journey as well. Life is about change. Change yourself. Go on the path. Go on the hero's journey.
Exactly. It's also important to remember that very often the change we don't want is actually a blessing in disguise. And on the further part of our journey, we start to understand why certain thing had to happen. So tarot, the tower is one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a good predictor of yeah of preparation, every change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing. Amazing. It's great how tarot finds its way to us, isn't it?
it is. It is.
By
And
accident.
what happened to you when you started reading?
That's a funny story. My reason is a little bit different. It's all because of a man. So I met a man who unfortunately just ghosted me, like disappeared from my life without a word. So I wanted to see what's going on. Like I wanted to understand what is the reason, what happened. And I came across tarot readings on YouTube. So I started to watch them, but they never gave me an answer. And I asked myself, hmm, perhaps I could try it myself. Perhaps I could do a reading myself, but I didn't have cards. I wasn't sure where to get them. And funny enough, a couple of days later, I went to visit my friend, and she happened to live with a person who was willing to borrow her deck. And she's like, okay, give it a try. And believe it or not, I just got the deck, having no clue how to perform a reading apart from what I watched on YouTube. And I just started pulling cards, and information and messages started to come to me. Like the meaning of a card was a one thing, but I started to have visions. I started to feel things, and it was most profound experience for me. And that's how I got hooked.
And did your first reading have a good message for you? Did you get the understanding of the process of the ghosting and everything?
Uh, In that sense, no. However, it was needed probably. Like it took the tarot for me, it took a completely different course. Like I didn't care about that person anymore because I got this new passion which I got myself into, and it was just like a going down the rabbit hole. So the entire world stopped existing. I used to start every day from reading tarot just to learn how to operate with cards. So yeah, that's very funny story for me. I
Yeah,
always laugh that mm,
yeah.
universe will always find its way in order to push us onto the certain road. So thank you very much for disappearing, because thanks to that, I discovered the biggest passion of my life.
Yeah, well, he's the one missing out then.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that your wishy laugh? Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it does. It takes you on a journey, and yeah, love it.
Exactly, exactly. Julie says, "What an amazing experience, Luna." And hello, beautiful person, Richard. We have some comments going on in the chat. So lovely to see you guys here. All right, so that's our personal experience. But before we even touch any cards, um, please tell me, how do you incorporate the tarot reading in your daily routine? Do you do that? Do you read your cards? How does it look for how a druid connects on a personal level, on a personal growth level?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I read a lot. I always have one or two tarot big books on my at hand, so I can read them in the bed, or when I get out of bed, or when I don't get out of bed in the morning. And at the moment, I'm reading Susan Chang's tarot correspondences, a very interesting read where which gives you a lot of depth to every card. Um, Readings for myself, I seldom do. Of course, I had this wonderful experience with the Tower card in my first reading. I think, oh my God, I shouldn't do this. Um, of course, I do occasional tarot readings for myself. For instance, we did a tarot reading when we started the channel for how will it evolve, and it's still going as we're still going as planned. Um, I do well at major turning points in my life. I do readings, but most of the times, for myself, I do. I'm more of a journaling person, so I throw it out instead of bringing it in. And studying the tarot is a daily routine. Meditating on the cards, individual cards or a set of cards, a couple of cards for myself. I do quite a lot, multiple times a week, and uh, and then I just yeah I go in search for these deeper layers. So I watch the cards, I look at them, I focus on them, and ask them, what do you want to tell to me? What do you want to say? What do you have to tell me? And they always have a story. There's always a story there, especially in the good and in the detailed decks. You have very simple decks, but also very detailed decks where every card has hundreds of details you can read and you can use for a reading. Even in the Rider Waite Smith cards that have that seem quite simple, but there's this water, there's this little doggy, there is the sack he carries, there's the flower in the hand, there's the sun, there's the thing he's wearing, there's the rock he's supposed to climb off or jump off. Um, Even this relatively simple card tells a big story, and there's cards that have much more depth and much more stories to tell, and there's a lot of cards that carry symbols, like my favorite deck, the Toss Tarot. There's all kinds of hidden symbols hidden in the cards, so that creates extra depth to it. So for myself, studying, meditating on the cards, and an occasional reading, and for my clients, whenever they come,
Mm. That's
I'm
very
available.
inspiring, Jan. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. There is a question.
Yeah.
What would you recommend as far as getting a tarot set for ourselves if we wanted to get into on our own?
Yeah. Well, um, if you really want to go study the tarot, and you want to be able to get a lot of free books or a lot of easy accessible books, I would always recommend the Rider Waite Smith Tarot.
The
Uh,
classic, the
the
most
classic
popular.
one. This fella, the magician, would be on the cover of the box, and uh, it's a very good deck to learn, because when you go further in, especially when you go into the minor arcana, every card in even the minor arcana cards tell a story, and that's not with all the minor cards. For instance, this is a Marseille deck based card, um, Marseille Tarot de Marseille, and this is called the Pip card, and the other ones are called representation cards. And a Pip card is something you have to find your own meanings, and it works with numerology, and it works with a series of events in every suit from 1 to 10, and that's what you have to learn. But in the Rider Waite Smith deck, especially when you go in the minor arcana, the Six of Swords is a boat with a person in it, and a little boy, and there's a man who pushes the boat, and the and one of the meanings of the card is a journey over water. Can't be more obvious, you see. So it's
Absolutely. We're
uh,
moving into calmer waters as well.
moving into calmer waters. It's also about well prepared journeys and science and everything, but it's the meaning is always quite obvious. Um,
The other deck I could recommend for the same reason is the easiness of reading. I just pulled eight of cups here. For example, you can tell that it's about walking away and leaving stuff behind. So
Abandonment.
this deck is the Morgan Greer Tarot as well, recommended by another Druid, believe it or not.
Ah,
A
well,
beautiful,
no.
beautiful person. We had, oh my goodness, like night-long conversation about tarot, and he was the one who recommended, and I absolutely love this deck, the Morgan Greer Tarot as well. Very easy to read the images, like I have here, for example, Five of Cups. You can
Yeah.
tell, you can read from this card what is it about. So yeah, just a disclaimer, be careful when you get one tarot deck. It may end up like this: 20 tarot decks later and 80
Yeah.
oracles.
I have a
Or
box full
maybe
as well. Yeah, and when you're into more nature-based decks, one I recommend is the Druidcraft. That's this box, the Druidcraft Tarot
oh, I
by
know this.
Philip and Stephanie Cargom, illustrated by Will Worthington. Um, Also a deck with images, with stories, with comics on the card. So it's a very easy read. It's a very powerful deck as well. Uh, it holds its card meanings are very well intertwined with the Golden Dawn, like the Rider Waite and my favorite Toss deck are all based on Golden Dawn readings. So when you start with the Toss deck uh, or the Druidcraft deck, um, and buy another one in the same line, you can read with it immediately. You don't have to study all over and over again when when you're reading with a deck like that. In contrary, for instance, with again one of my favorite nature-based decks, the Wildwood Tarot
Mm.
by John Matthews, and again by Will Worthington. So the same illustrator as the Druidcraft deck, and a very interesting and multi-leveled full here called the Wanderer. So
Wow.
there's also one thing that's changing there, not the number, but the name of the card has already changed at the zero card. Here we have the Magician, no longer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a very interesting deck.
Wow.
Yeah, when you buy a good copy, you get one book. There's this is the Hermit, of course, as you can see. Um, and there's also a book for the next level, the Wild Magic, the Wild Tarot workbook, and there's a very active Facebook group for the Wildwood Tarot.
Mm.
But if you choose for the Wildwood Tarot, know that after it, or when you choose it now, after being there, you have to learn a lot of new things and new interpretations, especially in the minor arcana cards, which are life events. The events that they point out and that they point to are different than the traditional tarot. So that's a bit of a minor point. But when you think you can stick to one deck and you like a nature-based deck like this with wild nature, uh, go for it and go deep with it. I've done readings with it, and it beautiful readings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There is also another group of tarot cards, which are the angel tarot cards. I have
Oh
here
yes.
the Angel Wisdom by Radley Valentine. What I like about those cards, they're great for beginners, especially because they always have a description. Here I have a magician card,
Oh yeah.
and um, they are usually based, if it's an angelic tarot, it's going to obviously correlate with angels, so it will have very often angelic images as well. This particular one has also correlations with another card here, so there is a lot of information on the card itself, which helps to learn the tarot itself. And I'm going to read the magician card. What is the description on the card itself says? Magic is alive in your life. What you need to be what you need to be a success will manifest. If you believe it, you can do it. Quite similar to an original image of a magician, which the table with the tools on it, right, with the infinity symbol, with all the elements on the card itself.
Yeah, and the wand in hand. Yeah, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I'll put it closer. So we have the element of air as a feather here. This here would be a pentacle. What could be a cup? So he's also pointing up and down. So there is this traditional meaning of a magician, but with a twist, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely
Lovely.
recommend. I love this deck actually.
Interesting. Well, I have one more interesting deck to show. A deck that was made famous because it was used in a tarot reading for a movie character, James Bond, in Live and Let Die. And of course, James Bond is always supposed to get the girl, and the reader in the movie got them the lovers card.
Oh wow!
And of course, he got the girl.
Obviously, he wouldn't be James Bond, would he?
Yeah. This is a deck I have never read with. I probably will never will, because the imagery is not exactly my cup of tea. It's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It was a gift for the gift to have it and to occasionally browse through it. It's a bit different. It's an interesting deck.
It's lovely to have a collection. However, yeah, I agree with you. Not all decks will resonate with me as well.
No, no. I regularly look on Kickstarter or on Amazon or even in shops for a beautiful deck, and most of them, fortunately, most of them, wow, oh, I have something like that already, and of course you have collectors. I would be drawn to nature-based decks about nature, about druidism, and stuff like that. So Celtic inspired decks. But you have people who collect angel decks like yourself, or there's a big market for decks about cats.
Oh
And
yes.
So uh, teams are coming in the tarot all the time.
And soon to be bees.
Yeah, there's a bee deck coming. There probably is already. Yeah.
I would
There
say
would be.
I would say so. You mentioned gifts, and I often receive a deck of cards from my friends. Sometimes it's a tarot deck, and one of my friends, he's just spoiling me with beautiful decks. And I'm not sure if you've ever come across this one. It's the Santa Muerte tarot with
Oh,
the
yeah.
Mexican themes,
Yeah.
and the images are absolutely fantastic. It's
Very
all
weird
about
image.
Mexican culture, the
Yeah.
Mexican themes. But it's just reading this deck. I don't know. I love it. I love to use it around Halloween time because
Yeah.
it's all about skeletons, and it's just such a beautiful deck.
Uniform and weird in a good way.
Yes, it's a right description for that deck, 100%.
Yeah.
I also have another deck here, which is more on the abstract side, the Muse Tarot deck by Chris Ann. She's the author of the same deck, of the Light Seer deck. So the images are not necessarily connected to a card itself. However, it's just such a feminine and beautiful energy here. I like it as well. It was gifted to me.
What was that? The four of what? The four of discs?
This is the wheel, actually.
Oh, the wheel. Okay. Oh, yeah.
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 So when I read this card, I have to go for the description of the card rather than seeing the card itself. but it's a lovely and beautiful deck. So I'm not sure, but I'm actually wondering now how many decks of tarot itself has been created in the world. That would be an interesting thing to find out.
Yeah, it seems like there would be a constant availability of about 20,000 different decks.
Oh, if not more. And what about
Yeah,
those who are
and
printed?
then so that doesn't include the decks that are out of print.
Exactly.
Sometimes, like I have a deck here. Well, the Tarot del Corazon Druida,
Ooh,
a very druidic deck. Lovely imagery.
said the druid.
Yeah, I'm like I said, the druid card number 5. The Hierophant is here, the druid,
Oh
and
wow,
there's the High Priestess is the druidess, and
beautiful.
I look at the World card, Luna.
Oh wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's a fabulous deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Judgment in the Cave of New Grange. So very druidic, very high on symbols. Um, the deck is a bit is a mix of Toth and Marseille. And like I said, it's the minors are not like you show me very pictorial, but are very abstract. The 9 batones or the 9 wands representing power and strength, and even what I see in the Thoth connecting the sun and the moon is not even here. So they're very abstract. They're open for any type of readings. You can read them like a Marseille deck. You can read them like a Golden Dawn deck, like the Rider Waite Smith or the Thoth. And there's a little doggy there.
Somebody wanted to say hi.
Hi, sweetheart.
Will you be good? Yes. You want to read you some cards? Yes. I know you do. Mm. That's
So
absolutely fabulous because, oh my goodness, for a tarot lover or for a person who loves tarot itself, picking a deck of cards is always a profound and very intimate experience, I would say.
it is. It is. Like I said, I might buy uh, something around between 5 and 10 decks a year, and uh, and still it's always a process of thinking about it, putting it in my basket or ordering it somewhere, and sometimes waiting for a long time when it's on Kickstarter, and then getting it and a nice independent deck, and yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
hope you don't
By the
mind
way,
me saying this, but when I visited Jan, I walked into his beautiful studio and there was this beautiful big box full of tarot decks.
by the way, Luna, there's a question um, from one of the Creative Soul Tarot. She asked the questions. Do either of you have a favorite or least favorite card?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, well, I can give it a go. I think my favorite would always be the star.
Hmm.
I like I like the openness of the meaning. So that the star represents hope, represents opportunities, represents the things that are coming, and of course, being a magician myself, I like the magician card as well. I like the meaning of the magician. I am the magician myself. I create my own life, and this card is the things you don't have to create.
Mhm. And what
And then
about
the
the
lead,
least favorite card?
yeah,
You got any?
I don't have real least favorite. Well, in toss decks, you have a 7 of discs. It's called failure. And of course, when you start reading it, and especially in Lon Manuel Duquette's book says this is a card you wouldn't even wish your worst enemy to draw. I think why is it in the pack? And of course, um, after studying it deeper, after going deeper with it, you can always say there's only one way to really fail, and that's by not trying and not putting the effort in.
Yeah, there is a
So
lot of value in it.
that was the wisdom the card gave. You can get the failure card, and card means um, not only just failure, but a risk of failure, not putting enough effort in. A farmer that doesn't water his land and the crop fails. It's all about that. But not doing is always failure. Because if you do and you fail, you win anyway because you learn something, experience. So these are my cards. Card 7 of the discs or the pentacles and card 17 of the major arcana as a favorite.
I was
What
just
about
going while you were talking. I was just going through the lights here tarot just to
yeah,
pick mine.
your
And
favorite card? Yes.
yes, it's well, I have three favorite cards. There will be the lovers. The lovers. Sorry, this is the wrong direction. The
Love it. Yeah.
lovers. It's it looks like this in that deck. The lovers because it's a Gemini card. So for me, it's always deep to my heart. But two my really favorite and the closest to my heart are High Priestess and the Sun Tarot.
Of course.
The Sun Tarot, it's all about happiness. I was also born on the 19th, and the Sun card's number is 19. So that's why I love it, because it connects me with the day of my birth, but also the meaning is beautiful. And the um,
And
High
the high
Priestess
priestess.
is
Yes. That's
all
you.
about intuition, listening to the
Yeah.
inner voice, little bit of the feminine energy as well, however not in the meaning as Empress would be, but High Priestess is this uh, in this deck. What I love about this, she has her eyes closed but she can actually see, and that's for me
With
the deep meaning of the High
all
Priestess,
that. Yeah.
person who's connected to the inner knowledge, the deeper the the flow of divine. You can see here actually this pink light. For me, this represents wisdom, the chakras, the alignment, and obviously the image of the Luna here as well.
Yeah. Let's and in all honesty, I can totally relate you with the sun because you're a Gemini. You're on the 19th of June, and that's one of the days that the sun is reaching for its highest point for its zenith. Yeah,
Exactly, it's
yeah,
almost summer solstice.
it's almost summer solstice, and yeah, that's it's a sunny day or a day when the sun is strong, at least. Yeah.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. My least favorite card would be Eight of
Oh, of course. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
all created within our heads. It's all in our hands, literally. So it's
Yeah.
the restrictions and the negative energy which actually comes from within us. It's something which we think, and we have influence on that.
Yeah.
So I love the image here because it shows exactly that things are not the way as they are seen, because the reflection in the mirror is completely different than reality is.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
She's reflected as blindfolded and tied up, while she actually isn't.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
And yeah. And
thank
what
you
what
for the question, Julie, because that's a really good question.
yeah what I love about this Eight of Swords is in the Golden Dawn meaning it's called interference.
Hmm.
So it means changing your course by
Very nice.
changing your thoughts by
Very
when you're tied up and there's eight swords around you, rub your hand, rub the ropes against the sword and they will break, and you can take the blindfold off and see again and see
exactly.
that and see that you're free.
So Richard has a question. Did any of you ever think of creating your own tarot or your own deck?
Shall I answer first?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course. There's one thing that holds me back, thing that I would need to create an old deck. That's an illustrator. I would need like Aleister Crowley had Lady Frida Harris to draw the images, and he wrote the book. Like um, E.A. Waite, Arthur Waite, who had Pamela
Mhm.
Coleman to create the images. I would need someone to create the images, like John Matthews in the Wildwood Tarot had, and Philip Quargom in the Druid Tarot, and our guest from last week. He created 3 decks and 3 times with an illustrator. So he was,
A different artist.
yeah. So I would love to do a concept. I already approached one artist who who rejected me because he had a bad experience with creating a tarot deck before.
Oh, but you could change that.
Yeah, well, I need to talk to him in private. I just, but I haven't seen him for.
Well, I would love to have a deck made by
Yeah,
Enchanted Tarot, the Druid.
yeah, but I would love to see a deck by you, even maybe a nice oracle deck or something.
Well, that's the thing. With me, I wouldn't create a tarot deck. However, there is few oracle decks here wanting to be expressed. And I actually happen to have a friend who is amazing artist, and we will create a tarot. We will create an oracle card. It's just a matter of time. And there was a comment before about karma reading cards to see if there are any treats in it. And if you could hear some rumbling noises in the background, that was actually her. She's learned here how to get into her box of treats, and now she just stole a big chunk of amazing treats. So, yep, that's what she did. She followed your advice with Richard. I wish I could show you her, but excuse me for a second. I need to take this away. Oh, no, not gonna happen. She escaped. Yeah, but sorry, guys, those things happen. We are live, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
life with a
And of course, the people in the chat can see that the one who asked the question about the least favorite card, Creative Soul Tarot, herself likes the Six of Swords, the Journey Over Water, or the Well Prepared Journey, and the Star. Yoo-hoo! It's an Aquarius card, and the Hermit, of course, one of my favorites too. And the least favorite is the Seven of Swords.
wow.
Swords from the six on. It's just. uh,
Heavy
on the
energy.
surface, it's quite messy. It gets quite messy, and it takes a lot of digging before you get before you get to the Ten of Swords. When you say, "Okay, we're at rock bottom now, and from now on, the only way is up."
Exactly. Exactly. I
Which
actually like Ten of Swords because it's
Ten
the
of
end
Swords isn't that bad. It's the end of the
right
misery.
at the beginning. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a mini tower.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks, Julie, for
Yeah,
sharing. I'm not surprised to see the star card there because Julie is an Aquarius. I hope you don't mind me sharing that. So, yeah, star card, absolutely beautiful card.
Luna,
Jan.
the Fool's Journey.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yes, the Fool's Journey. We have the Fool. We know the Fool has a card, and the number is 0. That means it's a card about nothing, or the card that you can add to any card without increasing its number. And the number 0 + 1 stays 1, and this and this and that, and that's why. I don't know who came first. The Joseph Campbell Foundation, a very high level school of tarot, has also written about the hero's journey, and it's also between 12 and 21 step, and from there on we're now working a lot in the tarot for the fool's journey and say, okay, if the tarot is the book of life, then the fool's journey takes him through all the tarot cards in the right sequence to create the story of his life.
That's an interesting approach.
Yeah, and then when you are number zero, the first step in your life, when you're just woken up, or you were just born, or when you were even when you had your tower moment and you're at number zero again to start anew, the first thing you visit is the magician. And what the magician, when you visit him, let's go for the newborn perspective. Um,
Yeah.
when you're born new, when you're a baby, you see the world with new eyes. You're not hindered by beliefs. You don't know things that don't work. You don't know things that do work. You know nothing. So you can try everything.
Tabula
So
rasa, I would say.
there's endless possibilities. So when the fool arrives at the magician, he experiences an awakening. Oh yes, an awakening. And the limitless possibilities are, of course, represented by the Lemmas card above his head. Most magician cards have this this infinite symbol above their heads. It represents that you're born, even though you don't know it yet, or sometimes you don't know how to use them, but you're born with all the tools you need. You have your feet, your arms, your hands, but you have stuff around you. Every sensation you experience is raw, and there's openness. And then what happens? You lose the magic. The first thing that happens: social norms, conditioning, um, the things that happen in life. You cloud your sense of wonder, and then you have the challenge. Then you get the challenge of retaining that magic, or grabbing it back, and getting back your sense of wonder, and awareness, and intention, and intuition. So there's a choice to be open-minded again, and to let go of the beliefs that were pushed on you by society and stuff like that. So there's that's what the magician does to you. It creates this feeling of completion, and now a complete person that still cherishes their inner child.
Hmm.
I'm way down I'm way down my life in years, but still I'm I'm looking for new opportunities.
Mhm.
Like what we did 2 months ago. We met, we talked, we said, okay, there's an opportunity here. We start up a new YouTube channel. That's the magician at work in your life.
Exactly.
That's the inner child that says, okay, let's do this. We don't know where we end up. We're not making big plans. We're just doing it. We defy the seven of discs.
Yeah. Uh,
Wow.
Creative Soul Tarot says, I like the idea that the tools the magician uses are what the fool has in his knapsack. I love that. I absolutely
Bingo.
love that.
That's completely true. That's completely true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I had my magicians all over the table and I can't find any. So apologies if you can hear me shuffling the cards. I'm just trying to
No
find
worries.
different images. That's so funny that it disappeared.
Oh,
But
I'll bring one to the table too. The weird magician from the Tarot del Corazon Druida, from the Spanish Druid.
mhm,
There he is. His correspondences
amazing.
are a bit off, but yeah, what the magician brings, what does the fool learn from the magician? So this sense of wonder, this sense of anything is possible. But what's the superpower of the magician? What's his planet in the Golden Dawn? It's Mercury. It's communication and swiftness. It's also um, communication comes with a dark side as well, which is called manipulation and trickery. So The card is also called the nickname of a few nicknames of the magician are the trickster, the alchemist, the juggler. Uh,
Mm,
so
interesting.
that so the magician brings the good things to the full, and also learns him a bit of the secrets of life, and that you're not a doormat. You can manipulate and create your own life. That's what he learns. I'm capable. I'm talented. I'm skilled. I believe in myself.
Mm. Yes, well, for me, magician represents that everything is within our hands, and we can make it. And what I'm also what I like about the magician is he shows what's above down below, which shows that whatever we can create, whatever we can think of, we can actually make it happen.
And that's of course that's the thing that that's in the Golden Dawn magician. As above, so
So
below.
below, yeah.
We keep on messing with with where the things are because
Yeah.
we're looking at the backs of the cards. But as above, so below. As above, so below. And yeah, so the magician has the power of will, the power of manifestation. So love is the law, love under will. Whatever whatever we think we can create, whatever we wish we can manifest, whatever we dream to life. Uh, so that's the wise lessons the fool gets. That he goes into the wide open world, the wild west, with an open mind, with an open mind for possibilities and opportunities, and he just has to learn by failure and success, as we all do in our lives.
Well said, Jan. Well
And
said.
the hero's journey is not starting somewhere, being safe and staying safe. No, it's about taking risks, and taking risks to grow above yourself, and to step out of the blueprint that society more or less tricks you to follow. The blue, the steps you take, school, 1, 2, 3 schools, getting married, getting your first loan to buy a car, getting your second loan to buy a house, paid off in your working times. You return 65, 66, 67, you retire, uh, maybe get some children in between, you retire and die. And that's it.
There is
And
so much more to life than that.
and the hero's journey should be that's what the magician says. Okay, you young fool, make sure that if there's someone up there looking at your life, at the movie of your life, that he has the coke and the popcorn and just sits and sits and enjoys the movie and all the problems you go through. The you know the James Bond story. The hero that in all his movies gets in all kinds of shit and all kinds of trouble, and in the end gets the girl, or the other way around, the heroine that gets the boy in the end.
Mhm. At the end of the day, we are spiritual beings having a human experience and not
Exactly.
the other way around.
That's it.
So it's important to remember that we came here to grow, not
That's it.
necessarily accumulate possessions, but accumulate experiences and learnings.
Yeah, yeah, and
And that's,
yeah,
I suppose, the meaning of life, at least
yeah,
for me.
that's it. And a good one to close with would be like, um, what's the difference in the experience of hell between a religious and a spiritual person?
Tell me.
A religious person is afraid of hell, and a spiritual person has been there
Yeah. Oh
and
my
returned.
goodness. That's just amazing. I need to write it down because it's so on spot, right to the point.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
one. I live by that one.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So do I. Hmm. That's
Yeah.
very deep. That's very deep. All right. Well, there is a reason why we decided to talk about every single card separately, because we could stay here for another several hours and just talk about
Yeah, we
tarot.
do, but we need to keep some of our guns for next week.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to see you all again in a week time at the weekly episode of Luna and the Druid.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, hitting the like button. It helps us to grow and reach people who, just like you, are looking for some information about magic, about druids, about Willowveer, about tarot, and all other amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
So in the meantime, visit our website, ro.com, and I'm looking forward to see you all back in a week.
Thank you. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. Bye
Bye.
all. Bye.